Well, good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a great start to your day. Nice to be with you, and looking forward to a few folks coming on here with us this morning and saying hello before we get started. Okay, who wants to be the first one to say hello to me this morning? Andrea, Niagara Falls. How are you? Kevin, Oshawa, Brahim, Portland, Oregon. Rosa. Good morning, good morning. Jen, Kate Breton. Beautiful. Donna, good morning. And Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Mike from Norland. Nellie, good morning. Oh, our faithful friends. And from Moncton, Carroll, good morning. Jeanette from Arsta. Sandy, Washington State. Corrine, New Brunswick. Len and Judy from Edmonton, Alberta. Mary, good morning. Nick from Arsta. Donna from Bell Valley. Ziane and Jean, bonjour. Yolande, bonjour. Deb from Timmins, good morning. Rhonda, oh Rhonda, you have no idea how I want to sing this morning. Wendy, good morning from Markham. Diane, Nancy, Shirley, Newfoundland. Derek, good morning. And Maggie, Jean, Deb, good morning from Detroit. Motown, Michigan. Catherine, Darlene, Bill, how are you? And Karen from Coldwater, Ontario. And I bet you it's cold. Frida, West Indies. Well, Frida, how are you? Elizabeth, good morning. Mississauga. Ruth Ann, PEI. Stefan. And you guys are great. Veronica. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Elaine. Okay, a few more. Christine, Linda. Oh, the Linda that listens. I love that. Denise, Arlene, hello. Lori, sunny Texas. Serpa, sunny Darling or not? Okay. Helga, Maria, Jeanette, bonjour. And Frida's getting her Biderma down in the West Indies. Sue, good morning. Donna, Portugal, or Portugal Cove. Susan, Francis Marie, Luella, okay, and Vera, good morning. Day 2, Vera, on the reset, good for you. Faye, how are you? Mary Jane from Connecticut, and Brenda from Campbell River, British Columbia, and Mary from New Brunswick, and Frida. You guys are great. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming on. Sue, St. Petersburg, sunny Florida. Okay? Okay, guys. Let me give you a statement. Yesterday, we did. I'm doing a week of, at least I think I'm going to do the whole week of myths. And yesterday we did some of the myths of vitamin D. There's a lot out there, and yesterday we did the myths of vitamin D. So if you didn't get a chance yesterday to see that, stay tuned for the podcast that'll be coming up on the Doctor Is In podcast about the myths of vitamin D. It'll answer a lot of your questions. Because there are a lot of questions about vitamin D because there's no money in vitamin D, so there's a war on vitamin D. We've been saying that for the last several years, the war on vitamin D, because there's a lot of myths out there about vitamin D. People really don't know what they're talking about, and no one's giving them the right information about it. So let's do another myth here, okay? Our myths in eating, I guess. I don't know how I want to describe this, but can someone explain to me, okay? Can someone explain to me, when I was a kid, Okay, we're going back into the days of Noah. Okay, when I was a kid in the 1950s, when I was in grade school. Okay, and I mean this. Someone explain this to me. Why on earth, okay, why on earth was, and I mean this, there was no such thing that I ever saw anyway, of lactose intolerance, peanut allergies, gluten intolerance. You know what I call gluten? Gluten schmooten. In the office, I used to say gluten schmooten. Okay? So someone explain to me, okay, why today 60-70% of the population have some type of lactose intolerant. Why do we see these people with EpiPens and whatever for peanut allergies? I never saw that as a kid, not once, that I can remember. And the other thing is the gluten. Gluten. Why do we see that so much of that today? Now, I have my theories, and I think I'm right, but I want you guys to think about that. Someone explain it to me. Why do we see these things that we never really saw before? Okay? And you guys are thinking, I've talked to you about it before, so let me give you my my take on the myths. Okay? On the myths. Because when you look at these things, okay, whether it be gluten, whether it be intolerance to peanuts or whatever, and I mean, think of today, there's a lot of schools, you can't even bring peanut butter into a school. True or false? What? Yeah, you can't even bring peanut butter into a school. In a lot of schools. I don't know if it's everywhere. Okay? Don't bring peanut butter. And dairy, but especially lactose. So the myth is that one, that these things have always been around. No, they haven't. Or they were just misdiagnosed. No, that's not the right answer. That's a myth. Why is it today that we see so much of them? Well, I want to give you a couple of reasons. One, we live in a different world. Okay? You and I live in a different world. Things have changed. One of the things that have changed is what we call the microbiome. Your immune system found within your gut, the microbiome. It's everywhere, but more specifically, 80% of your immune system is found in your gut. Do you want to know why we see so much peanut allergies? You want to know why we see so much gluten schmooten, celiac, or gluten intolerance? Why do we see 70-80% of the population have some form of lactose intolerance? One, I'm going to start with the microbiome. Things are changing. Our guts have changed. Our guts have changed. You and I live in a generation, okay? You and I are living at a time that most people on the planet, not all of course, but most people on the planet have damaged their microbiome. They changed that ecosystem within their gut. And the primary culprit are antibiotics. The greatest discovery of the 20th century and what I call the curse of the 21st. The curse of the 21st. And guys, I'm adamant about that. Wonderful, life-saving medications. Wonderful, life-saving medications. But there's a double-edged sword. They wipe out in 5 days the microbiome. They change the status of your gut. It creates a condition called leaky gut. So it's the chicken or the egg, guys. And today I want to talk to you about the chicken, not the egg. The chicken. What started it? Why? I always ask why. If I see something in almost like epidemic proportions, and like I said, I started off with that statement this morning, who can explain to me something that I never saw as a kid? And I mean that, guys. Never. I don't remember. Can I tell you something else? I never, ever remember asthma as a kid. In kids. I'm not saying it didn't occur. I'm just saying no one that I ever saw as a kid in any of my classes ever had an asthma pump. What has happened? See, that's the way I think. Why? Why? And I'm telling you, my friend, we start in the gut. There's no such thing, in my opinion, no such thing as any autoimmune that doesn't start in the microbiome in the gut. Because autoimmune disorders, where the immune system turns on itself, things come into the body that never would bother the body before. Now they see it as a foreign invader, including foods like peanuts, including foods like dairy. And including foods like gluten. See, I don't blame gluten. I really don't. Unless, and you know what, again, I've seen celiac, okay? I've seen celiac. But it's a rare condition, my friend. I tell you, people, if they would change their microbiome, if they would fix their leaky gut, whether it is an allergy, whether it is an autoimmune disease like MS, like Parkinson's, like rheumatoid arthritis, like eczema, like psoriasis, what you see there, my friend, is started in the gut. It's leaky gut. And leaky gut is never meant to be. It's never meant to be. Leaky gut is a modern day phenomenon. It's a modern day phenomenon. And if we look at it and we backtrack and look at what's happened in our society today, even from the 1950s when I was a little boy, what in the heck? What in the double, HE double hockey stick? What has happened? Why do we live in such a different world? What has happened? And my friend, we start in the gut. I've been preaching the leaky gut for a long time. I have. But when you look at the modern day conditions, it's amazing to me how the obvious has been missed. They're not into fixing these conditions. They're into managing these conditions. Managing them. How about we fix them before they happen, if we can? I tell you, I've talked to you about this many times in the past. The gut. And with a baby, it starts right in the placenta. Mommy has leaky gut, baby gets leaky gut. And babies, in their first couple of years of life, this is so essential for their long-term health, is they develop a condition called leaky gut when they are on their first round of antibiotics. And it doesn't happen right away, guys. Like leaky gut, because people think leaky gut, they think in their mind, at least when I talk to a lot of people, leaky gut, well, I don't have any digestive issues, doc. I don't feel no pain in my gut. Yeah, but that's not what leaky gut is. Now, you can have IBS, you can have IBD, you can have all these conditions, you can have, upper GI, you can have stomach problems and all that. Now, they're part of the parcel, but you might not have any symptoms at all and have leaky gut. And that's why, even today, if you did a survey, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but if you did a survey amongst physicians, okay, just let's go to medical schools. And we did a survey, and then those who have graduated from medical school just did a survey. Do you believe in leaky gut, yes or no? And I'm telling you, my friend, I'm telling you, I doubt that even 30-40% of physicians even believe in leaky gut. They really don't know what it is. They haven't been taught. And that's why, again, we look for love in all the wrong places when it comes to autoimmune. Because if you got a peanut allergy, you got an autoimmune disorder. Your immune says peanuts shouldn't bother you. Shouldn't bother your children or your grandchildren. What? So what's happened? Number one, leaky gut. Leaky gut is when, again, just always good to repeat, you have a barrier in your gut between your gut and your blood. Now remember what your blood is. Your blood goes through 60,000 miles plus of blood vessels. What does blood do? Well, it brings you all of one, oxygen from your brain to your toes. It brings you nutrients that have been microsized from your food, right? And your blood is the river of life. Now, have you ever seen a polluted river? Yeah. With waste and garbage in the river. Have you ever seen that? A toxic soup in the river? Yeah, I've seen that. Well, that's what leaky gut is. You see, the river is supposed to be pristine. Your body has a barrier between your gut and your blood. The blood-gut barrier. It's supposed to be tightly knit. Nothing gets into the bloodstream that doesn't belong. Water, oxygen, well, your red blood cells do that, and nutrients, micro-sized. What happens when the barrier has been compromised? What happens? You have pollution. And like I said, there's other things that cause that. But the number one cause, and I've been talking about this for 50 years, are antibiotics. They're wonderful. They save your life. But the flip side of them is they start a process in the body that allows the river to become polluted. And your body responds to that pollution. They set off an inflammation. They set off an autoimmune response, saying that don't belong in your blood. What's it doing in there? Let's get it out of there. And the body overreacts. My friend, that's what autoimmune is. It sets up antibodies. And then you get thyroid problems. A lot of times, it's an autoimmune response. You get skin problems, you get brain problems, you get lung problems. And the myth out there is, well, it's just the way it is. Johnny Boy has an allergy to peanuts. And here's an EpiPen. They never try and fix it. Susie over there has a problem with gluten. They don't think past their nose. What started that problem? Susie. And Joe, he's got a problem with dairy. Man, lactose. Okay? So number one, where does it start? The gut. And I'm telling you, my audience knows more about leaky gut than just about anybody else in the world. It's one of our 3 seeds of disease. Right? Leaky gut, insulin, and oxidative damage. The premature aging of the body. Anyway, back to, can someone explain to me why we see so much of these conditions? Why? So that's number one. Number two, and the reason I did follow with me here, okay? When you get leaky gut, something else happens. Yes, you have toxins in your blood. And your body responds to those toxins. And sometimes they over-respond. You get autoimmune. But the other thing that happens, very important to understand that, the body creates what we call a dysbiosis. Okay? Leave it to medicine to give us a big name. And what that is, okay, dysbiosis is the war that we don't see. It's an invisible war. A war that occurs within the gut. It's a war, okay, between good and bad bacteria. And dysbiosis is that when you have an imbalance of that, you have more bad guys than good guys. Of course, that creates havoc in the body. Leaky gut, 1. 2, you get an invasion of a third army. Fungus, yeast, candida. I've always said, yeast, when it gets into your bloodstream where it doesn't belong, it can travel. It hitches its wagon inside your blood, and it travels to distant territories, from your gut to your brain, from your gut to your sinuses, from your gut to your joints, from your gut to your lungs, from your gut to your liver, from the gut to your toes. And fungus, yeast, 3 names: fungus, yeast, candida albicans. My friend, I talked about this in chronic fatigue syndrome when I wrote my first book about it. I talked about what happens with that invasive army, what it does to people, and how destructive it is, and how your body fights it. Autoimmune. The body wants to fight it. It knows it's there. Again, it overreacts. And that's how I explain to myself, first of all, why we see what we see in this day and age. That's why I always called it gluten schmooten. My friend, it ain't the gluten. Okay? It's not the gluten. Gluten's been around forever. It's what we've done to ourselves in the name of progress. Look, like I said, you get antibiotics, and then you feed. See, that army, that third army, when it invades your body through the bloodstream, it'll go into the brain. By the way, how does mercury? Dr. Martin, stay away from fish. Okay? You know how many times I've heard that? Because of mercury? And I said, well, you don't have to worry about mercury. Your body knows how to get rid of mercury. Unless you have leaky gut. And the only way mercury, lead, cadmium can travel through your bloodstream, it needs a ride. Okay, guys? It needs a ride. You know how it travels? You know how heavy metals travel through your body? That's why I'm not that big on heavy metals. Not that I don't talk about it, of course. Like mercury, lead, cadmium, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, but they have no ability to get into your body. If you eat, like there's mercury in, especially the big fish, right? And they say, well, there's mercury in there, Doc. Well, look, first of all, you ain't living in a pristine world. I'm sorry, everything you eat, to some extent, even if it's fully organic, has been tainted. Okay? Oh, Dr. Martin, I never eat steak because, those cows eat grass and there's pesticides and herbicides and antibiotics that the cows eat, and I'll never eat that stuff. I said, well, listen, your cow, your neighborhood cow, it's got a liver. You got a liver. And you can get rid of anything with your liver. It's, first of all, as long as it's not gummed up. Okay? And second of all, okay, if you get rid of yeast, because yeast, candida, fungus, gets into the bloodstream, and heavy metals love to attach their wagons to that stuff. That's how it crosses the blood-brain barrier. That's why in Parkinson's, and I said this 50 years ago, Parkinson's, when they used to see, and they still do, by the way, on autopsy in the brain of people who have Parkinson's, it's incredible how that is on steroids today. There's so much Parkinson's, there's so much MS, there's so much autoimmune. But by the way, when they do autopsies on Parkinson's, you know what they found? Heavy metals, mercury, lead, almost invariably. But here's the big point that I want to make. Never in the absence, when they see heavy metals, never in the absence of candida in the brain. Fungus. Fungal infection. You don't know it. So, my friend, that is a huge, huge issue. Leaky gut. And then we feed the bears. Yeast can only live, listen to what I'm going to say. Yeast only lives on sugar. Okay? Yeast only lives on sugar. Now let me say this as a statement. Okay? Sugar has killed more people in the last 70 years, has caused more destruction in the last 70 years than any war, than any virus, than any bacteria. Sugar has. Because sugar, it's destructive. Your body wasn't made to eat it. And of course today, man always thinks they're smarter than God. Always. Right? They always think they're smarter. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take sugar and we're going to make one that's cheap, addictive, and we can make it in our laboratory. And we're going to give it a name that appears to be healthy. And what are we going to call it? High fructose corn syrup. Oh boy, does that ever feed yeast. Fungal. And by the way, high fructose corn syrup has mercury in it. And they put it in everything. And they couch it by giving it, 100 different names? Can nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, but just about nobody ever calls the food industry on this thing. Because I'll tell you what the food industry has done, and they're smart. They have bought and paid for their little lackeys to push from the dietitian schools to the you name it. It's interesting that even today, in 2023, I got to get used to that, 2023. I'm used to 2022. And just when I get used to 2022, it's 2023. So what happens is that they couch this thing. This sugar's in everything, and it feeds that third invasive army that sneaks in through the blood-gut barrier. It sneaks in and never should get into your bloodstream. And here we are today with all these allergies, all these intolerances. I don't care, my friend, whoever came into my office, if you had any kind of intolerance at all, I wasn't aiming at the intolerance. I was aiming at your gut. I said, let's fix the border. Okay? Biden visited the border, the southern border. Why doesn't he visit the northern border? Well, there's no problem at the northern border. You ever tried to get into the United States without your passport? Us Canadians? Right? You ever tried? Good luck with that. Okay? At one time when I was a kid, you needed your driver's license. Today, you better have your passport or you ain't getting into the United States. That border is well secure. But the leaky gut is at the southern border. Right? That's leaky gut, my friend. That is why I can explain to myself what is going on in our world today. And yet, not even taught in medical schools. They don't even teach it. Now, a lot of people are doing research on the microbiome. It is one of the most fascinating new things in medicine, is that they're studying the microbiome. I love it. I do. I hope it filters down to the rank and file in medicine, so they start understanding what's happening in our society today. Okay. Guys, have I told you lately that I love you? I haven't? Okay. Whoa. There goes my dryer. Have I told you that? Well, I mean it. Okay. Okay, we're going to continue with this myth things, I think, all week. Okay? The myth of different things. And I find them fascinating. Okay, guys, we love you, and we talk to you soon.